Good afternoon, good evening to all of our valued audience. Thank you for joining us today on this live webinar. My name is 𝗪𝗶𝘁 𝐴𝐴LN. I'm the Executive Secretary of the African Leadership Development Center, and I'm glad to have you. I shall be your guide on this webinar. Thank you and welcome. Moving ahead, we'd like to know where you are watching us from all over the globe. Please go to the comment section and put your location, the city, and your country. Thank you so much for that. All right, moving ahead on this transformative leadership platform, we shall be having a lot of questions from you, which we are able to take after the session. So feel free, go right into the comment section and drop all of your questions. Just like me, I have a lot of expectations on today's live webinar. I hope you also have yours too. So rush in there, go ahead, get your expectations, and let us have them in the comment section. Thank you all so much. We're so excited to have you here. All right, I'm sure you're doing that as well. Okay, so who is the host of this live webinar? The host of this live webinar is the African Leadership Development Center, ALDC. And shortly, I'm sure you have a lot of questions on your mind saying, what is ALDC? What is the goal and the motive of the ALDC? We'll leave you with a clip shortly so that you can have all of your answers, all of your questions answered. Thank you.
Welcome to the African Leadership Development Center, ALDC, Covenant University. The African Leadership Development Center, ALDC, Covenant University is a Christian-based leadership institution offering specialized leadership education for raising and nurturing transgenerational leaders who lead with purpose for the nation-states of Africa and the world at large.
Endowed by the 𝗪𝗵 Foundation and led by Dr. 𝗪𝗵𝘁, the President of Living Faith Church Worldwide and Chancellor of Covenant University,
our vision is to see a world full of transgenerational leaders for Nigeria, Africa, and the rest of the world. In actualizing this vision, ALDC provides integrated and holistic leadership development programs for leaders, professionals, and youths, cutting across diverse fields and context and equipping and training them with leadership, entrepreneurial, social, political, and economic skills for demonstrable impact in leadership and governance. As the leadership training arm of Covenant University, the African Leadership Development Center, ALDC has been pivotal to the leadership curriculum, development and delivery for Covenant University's specialized leadership courses.
ALDC leverages different training methodologies on-site and online to enable participants and attendees to benefit from robust and empowering leadership development experiences. Visit our website aldc.covenantuniversity.edu.ng and connect with us across all social media on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter to stay connected.
We thank you for joining us today, and we invite you to enroll for any of our specialized programs, conferences, workshops, and seminars. You're welcome.
All right, welcome back from that exposition about what the ALDC is all about. I'm sure that has been able to answer all of your questions. Okay, I see you from Ghana. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wow, all the way from Canada, we appreciate you. Thank you all so much from Ogun State or your state. Awesome, we're all excited to have you. Okay. Shortly, we shall be introducing our first guest to you on this platform. He is the director of the African Leadership Development Center. Please meet him, Dr. Lanre Amadu.
Dr. Lanre Amadu is an associate professor, author, and public speaker with a great passion for bringing out the best in people. He is the director of the African Leadership Development Center, ALDC, a center endowed to the university by the Chancellor, Dr. 𝗪𝗵𝘁, to organize specialized leadership training and oversee leadership university-wide courses in Covenant University. Dr. 𝐷𝗫𝐻 has made several presentations at workshops and international gatherings. He has also served as the lead paper presenter at conferences. Dr. 𝐷𝗫𝐻 has consulted for corporate organizations and has also served as a facilitator at more than 18 corporate training on business report writing and attention-grabbing presentation skills.
He has taught several courses at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels in the areas of public relations, advertising and broadcasting. He has also supervised over 72 undergraduate final year projects, 5 master's dissertations and 5 completed PhD theses. He has over 60 scholarly publications in national and international journals and conference proceedings.
Dr. 𝐷𝗫𝐻 has served in several leadership capacities in the past, some of which include Head of Department, Mass Communication in Covenant University, Director, Vice Chancellor's Office, Director, Media and Corporate Affairs, Registrar, Covenant University among others. He is a newspaper columnist, a radio show host, and a YouTuber. Ladies and gentlemen, let's warmly welcome Associate Professor Lanre Amodu to the Transformative Leadership webinar as he takes on the session on Birthing Leadership Impact.
Hello, thank you very much. Our dear participants, thank you for joining this program. We're excited that you have joined from all the places that you have joined. Thank you so much. We are happy that you're here. At this point, I'd like to first of all begin by acknowledging and appreciating the Chancellor of Covenant University, Dr. David Oyedepo, for the opportunity that he has given unto us to he created this platform that we're using to reach you, and we believe that you'll have a very refreshing time. I also want to appreciate the second speaker, that is Pastor David Oyedepo Jr. It's a rare privilege to speak on the same platform as he is, and I am looking forward to his presentation, and I'm sure that you are too. I will share my slides right now. I want to again appreciate everyone that is joining us today. We will have a very wonderful time together. Okay, so the topic I have that I will be sharing with you today is birthing leadership impact. Birthing leadership impact. And very quickly, the outline that we'll be looking at within the time that we have together is: number 1, we'll see the introduction. Number 2, what is leadership? Number 3, what is impact? Number 4, how to birth leadership impact. And finally, we will arrive at a conclusion. So let's go straight into the introduction of this presentation. Victor Hugo said, "Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come." So today what we're here to do is to create or to generate idea that will be so powerful that will become unstoppable. We're hoping that by the time we leave this session, we have contacted wonderful ideas that will stir up the movement in us in such a way that we'll not be able to stand still, in such a way that we'll not be able to sit still. We'll be so excited to contribute to development. So I'm hoping that as you're following up with our conversation this evening, you're stirring up yourself to decide that you will not sit still again. Now, let's jump in very quickly. What is leadership? It is necessary that we define leadership because there are a lot of thoughts as far as leadership is concerned. Quite a number of persons have different ideas of what leadership is. I would like to adopt for today's presentation the definition of leadership by Dr. David Oyedepo, and it says, leadership is not about leading people, but about taking the lead in your field that makes people refer to you. It is not about occupying a position, but about making outstanding contribution. Now, I want you to understand how important this definition is. For instance, let's look at a country. I'm speaking from Nigeria, so I will be using the example of Nigeria. We have a president because we practice a democratic government. Now imagine a president has 4 years for a single tenure. And if the president gets re-elected, then we're talking about 8 years. Now, please listen to this. If an individual gets to live for 100 years, you would have witnessed the tenure of 12 presidents. Now, I want you to imagine 8 years per president. You've gone through 12 presidents of a lifetime. Now, look at the percentage of 12 people to a population of over 200 million people. So the question is this: when will every single person in that nation have the opportunity of becoming the president? Try never. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. Now, imagine you're working in a corporate organization and the CEO actually founded the organization. The question is, when can you aspire to be the CEO of the company? Again, perhaps never. So if we go by the concept of positional leadership, in other words, you can only be a leader when you are appointed into a position, then you'll find out that a lot of people are hopeless. They will never ever get to become a leader. But by this definition that we see here, we're saying that you don't have to be appointed into a position to be a leader. All you have to do is take a lead in your field, become exceptionally good at what you do, and before you know it, people start to refer to you. What they have done is that they have accepted you as an authority in what you're doing. They have decided to defer to you. So let's just say that when it comes to leadership, it is more about personal development. It is more about growth. Let's take a step further. I want to tell you a short story of something I experienced quite a number of years ago. I attended a program in a church auditorium, and the church auditorium had this kind of fan units that are suspended on the wall, like the one you see in the picture right there. I went to a particular section of the auditorium, and the moment I sat, I noticed that the place was eating up. I looked around, I saw people fanning themselves, so which means I was not peculiar. And then I looked up and I saw a fan unit that was not working. I assumed that definitely it was not working. That is why people are sitting down there fanning themselves. In my mind, of course, they've tried it, they know it's not working, so they are enduring it. So I sat down there contemplating in my mind, how long can I endure this? Or perhaps should I move to another section of the auditorium? In just a few minutes, a young man came and sat next to me. He became uncomfortable almost immediately, and he looked at the fan. I could read what was in his mind, exactly what I thought. Then he stood up and walked towards the fan. Instantly, I started to feel sorry for him, wondering, oh my God, you'll feel so embarrassed by the time you touch it and you find that it's not working, and then you walk back. To my greatest surprise, he switched on the fan and it did work. Then instantly, I started to feel sorry for myself because I have endured something I could have changed if only I thought to try. But in my mind, how can this number of people be wrong? I mean, how can they all be fanning themselves when the fan is working? Now, that is the idea. The idea is that it takes individuals taking steps. Otherwise, some things may never be done. Don't assume that everybody knows what to do. Personal leadership is a very critical part of life. So what then is impact? Impact is a strong effect on something that results in redirection. If you have seen the picture of a moon, you would notice that there are actually some indentations there, which we are told are craters. And when you look at the craters, you find out that the craters were actually made, according to science, by asteroids that collide with the moon. One way or the other, there was a force that hit the moon hard enough to actually make an impact. Now, I want you to now imagine that you're trying to cut down a tree, to fell a tree, using a penknife or a table knife. Now, imagine how useless that effort is going to be because it will not make any impact. So what we're saying here is that impact is an influence that generates a redirection. Like the footprint you can see there, something that makes an imprint that is easy to remember, something that leaves a lasting impression. Now, let's quickly take a look at characteristics of leadership impact, because here we're talking about leadership impact, of course. If you are a leader, and you want to be impactful, the first thing you have to do is to create change. Now, please pay attention to this. I am talking about progressive change. It does not mean that the moment you find yourself in an office, you abolish everything that everybody has done before just because you want to create change. What I'm saying is, what are you bringing on board? What new thing are you doing? By the time you leave the office, what else can we say you have added? So a leader can create change. Again, don't forget the story I told about the fan. The gentleman came around. He did not need to announce himself. He didn't need anybody's vote. He stepped out and touched and switched on the fan, and the fan worked. Instantly, a change happened because the heated up atmosphere became cool, and we had one person to thank for it. That person that decided to make impact. The next one is legacy. Please pay attention to the fact that leaders that make impact actually leave a legacy. Unfortunately, there is negative legacy as well as we have positive legacy. Now, please think about this. Wherever you are, in a church, in a place of work, if the place has existed for a while, you're likely to hear the name of someone who you perhaps never met, but has made some impact. If the person made all the right impact, then you are benefiting from the reforms, from the ideas, from the investment of the person. And perhaps, if the person made a negative impact, for instance, stole from the organization, then you have him to thank for all the policies that have been put in place to monitor people and watch their movement. Again, it's about leaving a legacy. So we are talking about impactful leadership, leaving positive legacy. The next one is stand out. If you're a leader that makes impact, there is no how you will not stand out. The next point is create a movement. Please take note that one good person is not enough to change the world. It will be a struggle. You need a movement. A good leader who has left a good legacy needs good people to carry it on. So when you are impactful, your steps don't disappear the moment you leave. People actually experience it. People receive it, and people move with whatever it is you have in mind. So why is it important that we have leadership impact? Why is it necessary? The first point is that leadership is the driver of change. And please take note again, by our definition, we're not talking about a positional leadership alone. We're talking about self-leadership, in which you have developed yourself to the point where you become an institution, where you impact people's lives. It is the person who decides to make impact that changes things. Without that person, things remain unchanged. Again, let me remind you of the story of the fan I told. There would not have been a change if this person was someone who blended with the environment and felt that, hey, let me not look like a fool. The next one is that we have leadership problem, and I don't have to emphasize that to you. We need leadership impact. We need a force that is strong enough to redirect where we are going. We need something to channel us through the right direction. And the last point you see there is that more people are problem focused instead of solution driven. And I think that again is an obvious fact. When you see people gathered in a nation, in places and all, they are discussing all the issues and all the challenges they're going through. Only very few people are asking, what can we do about it? How can we change the situation? Here again, the story I told is very instructive. Imagine me sitting and thinking that this gentleman is going to look like a fool when he switches on the fan and finds out it does not work. But the gentleman himself was not thinking about it. In other words, he dared to stand alone. He dared to look like a fool. So we are looking for people who will say, I dare to have integrity even if it is not popular. I dare to work hard even when everybody around me is lazy. Now, this is the point where you start to think about solutions that can resolve problems. Now let us talk about birthing leadership. I want to please take a look at the picture that you can see on your screen. What exactly can you see? I'll give you 5 seconds to take a look at it. All right, time up. Time up. Now, you can please go into the chat and type in anything that you can see. That would be good. We'd like to see your feedback. What can you see from that picture? I am sure that someone will say, I can see trees and bushes. Somebody else will say, well, I can see a face. Someone somewhere is looking at a tree. A house, as we're speaking right now. And I can almost say that there's someone who can see a woman in that picture. If you've not seen the woman, let me describe. In the face, you can see where the nose is supposed to be. That is where the head of the woman is. And the place that you thought was the lips initially is the hand of the woman carrying the basket. So what are we talking about here? You find out that your mind is the most critical thing, not necessarily your eyes. Thank God for the gift of sight. But what is more important is a gift of insight. When we are talking about birthing leadership, it comes from the mind. When your mindset changes, everything in your life will actually change. You don't see through your eyes, you actually see through your mind. What happened with the picture we looked at a few seconds ago? You saw something and you were so sure you saw it. But the moment I started to point out some other things, if you did not see them before, you started to see them. It gets to a point that you cannot see anything else except what I have described, because now they have become so glaring. What happened? Your mind changed. It was not the situation that changed. The picture did not change. Your eyes did not change. It was your mind that changed. So because your mind changed, everything you see changes. So when we are talking about impact, your mind has to change to the point where you see things differently. The next point there says that we walk away. It is possible to walk away from physical impact, but mental one, no. Now, imagine that you watched a scary movie. It scared you so much you ran away from your device and you ran into the room. Guess what? You may have left the device there, but there's something in your head, which is a picture of what you have seen. Let there be power failure or just hear a sound behind you, you are likely to jump because you are already scared. You are not running from what you saw in the device, you are running from what is in your mind, which interestingly you get to carry wherever you go. So that is what happens. When the mind changes, you carry the impact everywhere. So which means that your success is not territorial. Anywhere you move to, you create the same environment and the same success. And then there is no effective mass transformation without effective self-transformation. It is until you are transformed as a person, that is when you are able to motivate several other persons to be transformed. How do some movements fall? It's when the central person, the figure that is galvanizing every other person, is found to be faulty. All of a sudden, everything else falls apart. So when you are consistent, when you are strong, when you know what you're doing, you make sure that you keep going. Now we are bringing our conversation to a conclusion here. I want you to take note that once your mind has seen something, you cannot unsee it. The moment your mind has stretched with the possibility of a better future, all of a sudden you are uncomfortable sitting down and being satisfied with status quo. If you are in a dirty room and you are comfortable with it, it is because your mind did not register the fact that it is dirty. You are okay, you don't mind. But the moment your mind becomes uncomfortable with the dirt, you will stand up and do something about it. Let me round up with a story. I was in my office some time ago and I was working. It was on a weekend. And I noticed some pieces of foam on the floor. Some presentations were done in the office a couple of days, the day before. And the white foam against the carpet just looked out of place. As I was working, I was distracted because I feel that this dirt, why is it here? A thought came to my mind. All right, if I wait till Monday, someone will come and clean up the office and then the dirt will be gone. But again, another thought came to my mind. Why not you? Why not you? So I got up and I picked up those dirts. They were not more than 5 pieces. When I picked them and discarded them, all of a sudden, the environment looked clean. Few dirts can actually make a place look filthy. So in other words, a few wrong persons, a few wrong perspectives, a few wrong attitude can actually make our system not work. But when you ask yourself, why not me? Why can I not do something about it? It is because your mind has become uncomfortable with the situation you are going through. And then all of a sudden you tell yourself, I will do something about it. So How do you birth impact? Change your mindset. The moment your mind changes, the world around you changes. Our dear Chancellor would usually say, until something changes within you, nothing changes around you. So are you dissatisfied with the environment you live in? Are you dissatisfied with situations? Ask yourself, what am I feeling like inside? Your outside may actually be a reflection of how you feel inside. Number one, because perhaps you can accommodate what is negative. And then number two, because you have become so used to it. And number three, it is possible that you have been so intimidated that you have believed that you cannot make a change. Don't forget, leadership is about you. And if you will change, first of all, by changing your mind, and it reflects on your behavior, and you do this consistently, you will become a person of impact, and the world will follow you. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time having a conversation with you. Thank you.
Wow, what a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Larry Amadu, for that insightful rendition. That was quite awesome. I personally picked quite a point from your piece, noting that this story of the fan was very, that you have to take a lead. You don't wait for things to happen. That was very insightful. And also the mindset. Your mindset is key. What you see is what you get. And if you don't take a step, things will not get moving. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will see you all participating. That was quite amazing. Your active participation is very commendable. Thank you to all of our viewers and all of you sending in your locations as well. Thank you all so much. So shortly, we shall be bringing back Dr. Larry Amadu. We have a little piece of a surprise for you. He shall be unfolding it shortly. All right, so get ready. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you tell somebody to come there and get ready for this awesome expose. Let's go over to Dr. Amadu.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Allen. So thank you again, our dear participants. We have something very special that we'd like to share with you. Remember that the last presentation is about self-development, improving yourself, and understanding that the moment you change, the world around you changes. Now let me share with you what we're working on. On the platform of ALDC, now we understand that true leadership is scarce. And there is a demand, so many challenges, so many situations and circumstances that demand for us to have good leadership. So do we sit down and do nothing about it? By now, I am very sure that the answer is no. So on our own path in ALDC, under the leadership of Dr. 𝗍𝗿 we are offering a professional leadership diploma. And this is a groundbreaking course that will change your mindset. It will revolutionize your thinking. It will give you an opportunity to stand out and to be someone different. So this is a 6-week intensive online leadership program. It is entirely online. It will start on the 12th of February and it will last till 28th of February. Now, though it is self-paced, so which means that since it is online, you can do it at your own pace, but we go by weekly model. So which means a week opens up. We expect that within the period of that week, you're able to complete what is available for that week and then move on. So we have 6 courses we are offering. The first one is on maximizing your leadership potentials. This course is highly recommended because you have to know what you can do. Dr. Miles Monroe said that everything that you have done is no longer a potential. It has become your experience. What is in your future that you are yet to do is your potential, but a lot of people have not been able to realize their potential. So this course will help you to discover your leadership potential and deal with it. The next one is effective job readiness skills. This will teach people who are thinking of getting a job, changing jobs, or even you want to recruit people and you want to know what to look out for. This course is very useful. The next one, create, innovate, invent, and sustain. This is to break the limits in your mind and make you think beyond limitation. The next one is the art of problem solving. Like the name, we will be tackling challenges, solving them with scenarios, and quite a number of other things. We have business startups. This is to give perspectives to people and give perception of how to develop yourself, how to approach startup, how to establish it, how to make it work. And the final course, which will be in form of a masterclass, it's when Dr. 𝗵𝗿 will come himself to have a session with participants, interact, deliver his presentation, and a very loaded and insightful one, after which there will be opportunity for question and answer. So who are we targeting with this program? That we're targeting everyone that needs to move. So this is we're developing something that will help your understanding. You would learn leadership principles, all right? You will be able to craft compelling personal brand and enhance your career, your employability and practical job readiness. You'll be able to develop a mindset of creativity and innovation. You'll acquire skills in managing resources, and that is very critical. You'll master the art of critical thinking. I have mentioned that. And you will be able to understand how the role of mentorship help you to gain mileage in life. Hands-on questions, scenarios that will help you engage, that will actually task your reasoning. But trust us, by the time you go through the experience, you would never be the same again. So if you're a young professional, you're an entrepreneur, even if you're an executive or a manager, you will benefit from this course. So what do you get from this course? Intensive learning, online learning, focused curriculum, hands-on experience, mentorship and networking, outcome-oriented learning, interactive online community. You will be involved in a lot of projects, and then of course this will be certificated. So right there on the screen you have the flyer for the course. I don't know what you're waiting for, because this is a lifetime opportunity. It has been designed it has been designed specifically for you, with you in mind, with a desire to scale the next level. The way the courses are designed, no matter where you are, you can always apply it and scale the next level. It is affordable, specifically so because the heart of the chancellor is to impact people's lives and make sure that lives are transformed. Now, I don't know what you're waiting for, but I have a feeling you want to go straight to that website and click enroll. We have a very special package for those who enroll very, very quickly, but there are some dates you have to take into consideration. The enrollment opens today, which is February 3rd. Enrollment closes on 9th of February. So on 12th of February, the course will actually begin. So please don't wait till the last moment. Don't say I will enroll later. You can forget and you can miss this opportunity. When we're done with this, what happens in future, we will determine, but this one that you know of, I think you need to rush towards it. So thank you very much. Register now. As we're speaking, grab your phone while you're watching on another device and start to register. This is your opportunity. God bless you as you do. Thank you very much. Over to you, 𝗪𝗶𝘁.
Wow, thank you so much for that surprise. I'm sure we all have an opportunity right now to rush in there, like you said, and get enrolled. Thank you once again, Dr. Larry Amadu, for letting us know something beautiful is coming from our staple. Shortly before we go ahead with the next speaker, I would rather tell you to go straight to the comment section and let us know that you can also have your questions harvested there. We shall be taking that question one after the other after the second guest speaker has finished his session. All right. Can I tell you something, our audience? You are doing so wonderfully well. Active engagement. Thank you so much. All right. It is with great pleasure that I'm going to introduce to you our next guest speaker. He is Pastor David Oyedepo, and he shall be speaking to us on sustaining leadership challenges. Please welcome him and let us have a clip at his profile. Thank you, sir.
Jr. is a minister of the gospel serving under the umbrella of the Living Faith Church worldwide. He is the resident pastor at the Faith. David Oyedepo Jr. is a minister of the gospel serving under the umbrella of the Living Faith Church worldwide. He is the resident pastor at the Faith Tabernacle, international headquarters of the ministry in Canaan Land, Nigeria. His responsibilities span administrative and spiritual operations within the local church and the global church organization. Pastor David was called into ministry on the 18th of October 2005 with the clear mandate to build a nation by light. He was ordained into the ministry on the 18th of May 2007 by Dr. Kenneth Copeland. In September 2007, he assumed his first lead pastoral role at Winners Chapel International, London, where he served for 8 years. This was a season in which he proved the calling of God upon his life, as he led the church through an immense season of growth and development. He served in both spiritual and administrative capacities during this tenure, starting from interim resident pastor to national pastor, and finally as regional pastor.
In January 2016, he was redeployed back to Nigeria to serve as the resident pastor of the international headquarters of the ministry. He has been responsible for serving alongside the president, Bishop David Oyedepo, in leading a congregation reputed to be the largest in the world. He is also privileged to currently serve as the secretary on the board of regents at Covenant University. The core of David's ministry remains the same: building a nation by light. In this capacity, he serves as an insightful teacher of the Word, engraced by God with illustrative teachings that open the eyes of people to the revelation of the truth.
He is also an accomplished author. The passion to fulfill his calling gave birth to the Great Light Outreach Foundation, TGL, with the vision to spread the light of Christ through the preaching of the good news and through ministering to the needs of the people through good works. Pastor David is an alumnus of Oral Roberts University and Oklahoma Christian University, where he obtained his bachelor's and master's degrees respectively. David is married to Kemi and their home is blessed with 2 children. Ladies and gentlemen, let's warmly welcome Pastor David Oyedepo, Jr. to the Transformative Leadership webinar as he takes on the session on Sustaining Leadership Impact Through Continuous Learning.
Wow, thank you so much, everyone. Let me first of all sincerely appreciate the leadership of the ALDC, African Leadership Development Center, starting with the Chancellor, Dr. David Oyedepo, and also the Director, Dr. Larry Amodu, and everyone who is a part of the team. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I've been tasked with the responsibility of speaking on the subject, Sustaining Leadership Impact Through Continuous Learning. And it's a short presentation, but I'm trusting that the Spirit of God will give us understanding and light as we explore this subject together in Jesus' name. All right, so by way of introduction, I start off with this very important statement that was made by the man that was made by John Maxwell. And the statement is simply that everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. It's a very simple but very important statement, because this statement makes us to see that where there is a dearth of desired results, there must be a product of inept leadership. Leadership is always behind every result that an individual would ever produce. All right, so our results are a product of our leadership. So everything rises and falls on leadership. Just a second. All right. Okay, so apologies. Everything rises and falls on leadership. That's vital for us to recognize. Like I said, that statement was made by John Maxwell. And it's important to note that whenever you find results that are contrary to what a person desires, it means that leadership in some way is lacking. Every great attainment can therefore be said to be the product of great leadership. Now, it's also important to note, secondly, that leadership is not a gift, but rather it's a skill. Leadership is not a gift, rather it is a skill. Now, if you look through the scriptures, the Bible, which is one of the anchor platforms for leadership development, you will discover that the Bible makes a statement in the book of Psalm chapter 78, verse 71 and 72 concerning David. It said that he led the children of Israel by the skillfulness of his hand and by the integrity of his heart. So leadership is not just a product of good intentions. You can have a good intention to lead and to be effective in your leadership, but leadership is the product of actual skill development. So it's a skill, it is not a gift. It's also important to note that leaders are made, they are not born. Vince Lombardi, who is attributed with this statement, was one of the greatest coaches, American football coaches, to have ever lived. He had the greatest success within the shortest period of time. He coached his team for 9 years and won the championship 5 out of those 9 years. Incredible feat, particularly in a very difficult sport. But he made this statement that leaders are made, they are not born. And when we look at leaders being made, it means that leaders are actually the product or the outcome of a process. There are specific processes through which individuals go that then causes them to emerge as leaders. It's also important for us to note, and this goes to what Dr. Amodu was speaking about, that leadership is measured by impact. Leadership is measured by impact. That is, when you look at true leadership, the measurement of true leadership is the impact that is made. When you find a man or woman that is said to be an effective leader, it means that such a person is an impactful leader. Now, if you look at a statement that was made by the Chancellor, Bishop David Oyedepo, he said that leadership is not occupying a seat, but rather it is accomplishing a feat. It is the capacity to deliver specific results as required by whatever task an individual has been entrusted. Now, if you look at the pictures I have, there are pictures of 3 individuals. The first of which, of course, is Jesus Christ. And you can see him there carrying the tree upon which he was going to be crucified. Now, according to scriptures, we know that Jesus lived for 33 years physically on the earth, 33 and a half years. For 30 of those years, he was subject as a child to his parents. And for 3.5 years, he went about his ministry. Now, the subject of his ministry for those 3.5 years was supposed to be the redemption and salvation of mankind. He did that for 3.5 years, and the impact of that 3.5 years is still being felt on the earth today. More than 2,000 years later, we still talk about the impact of the 3.5 years of Jesus's execution of his ministry. That's leadership. The second picture that I have here, towards the left of the screen, is the picture of David the king. Now, David is widely, regarded as the greatest king of Israel. All right, and from Bible history, we know that David died almost 3,000 years ago. In fact, to be exact, we know that David, as at this year, is said to be at 2,994 years ago, David died. But almost 3,000 years later, the impact of David is still being felt. Why? Because he exhibited genuine or true leadership. Now, a contemporary example we have is, the man who is widely regarded as the father of Singapore, and that is Lee Kuan Yew. Now, he, assumed leadership of a nation that was one of the poorest in the world, a nation that had, all kinds of, challenges on every side, a nation without any resource, even water. There was no resource, no fresh drinking water, no physical or natural resource available to this nation. But by sound leadership, within about 30 years of his assumption of leadership of that nation, it became the most prosperous nation in Southeast Asia. That's the product of leadership. You measure leadership by impact. What that means is that leadership is not the product of tenure. A person can be a long tenured leader without being an impactful leader. A person can be in a position by reason of, whatever favors individuals may have given to such a person, and that individual yet is not considered a true or genuine leader because they lack impact. The truth is that when it comes to the subject of impact or of leadership, leadership can only be measured by true impact. Now, going further, we must begin to address what I refer to as the leadership factory, and that is, what is the manufacturing process through which leaders are made? Because we have already said that leadership is not a gift, rather it is a skill. We have said leaders are not born, rather they are made. So what's the factory or the process through which leaders are made or developed? And we look at this very important answer to this question, and that is the fact that the factory through which leaders are made is simply what I call the crucible of learning. The crucible of learning. Leaders are made by learning. Bishop Owediobo, the chancellor, has said it this way, that all leaders are learners, and every committed learner ends up an effective leader. All leaders are learners. All leaders are learners. No one can be effective in leading without a commitment to learning. He has also said that every leader is a reader, and all addicted readers are actually potential leaders. So when we look at the factory or the process through which leadership is developed, leadership is developed and sustained through the process of learning. So our commitment to learning is our access, as it were, to leadership development. I was doing a study some time ago, and I began to explore individuals who are the helm of affairs of leadership in the United States. And one of the things I discovered is that almost every one of the presidents of the United States is said to have been a very avid reader. Many of them have long reading lists of things that were read, not before they came into authority, but even while they were in authority. So it means that you don't just learn to attain authority, you learn to sustain authority. It is actually the factory through which leaders are made. It means that when a man or woman retires from learning, such a man or woman has retired from leading. Unfortunately, the truth is that the position may still be there, but the impact will no longer be there. Everyone's impact is a product of their continuous commitment to continuous learning. And this is where the leadership edge is given. Those who are committed to learning are the ones who will continue leading. Now, it's important to note that leadership development is a continuous software upgrade. It's a continuous software upgrade. And what do I mean? You see, leadership skill is not a hardware upgrade per se, but it's actually a software upgrade. Now, today, in our day and age where we have the proliferation of all kinds of mobile devices that have penetrated everywhere, and we are used to software upgrades or updates. Many of us will have prompts on our phones or our devices that tell us that it's time to update your software. Now, nothing physically changes about that device, but when the software is updated or upgraded, there is always going to be a change in the performance of that device. All right? Everything that is required for that device to perform at that level is available in the device, but it is the upgrade of the software that determines how that device is able to perform. So there are potentials that lie inside every one of us. Whether you are male or female, there is a leadership seed inside each one of us. But the potential of our leadership can only begin to find practical expression when we have periodic upgrades, seasonal upgrades or updates. And the update does not change anything about us physically, but it changes something about us internally. Now, it's important, I reiterate a statement that was made by Dr. Amodu earlier, and that is the fact that when something changes inside you, things definitely change around you. So our internal upgrades will definitely result in our external upgrades. Things begin to change. Our functionality, our delivery, the various areas of our life begin to produce new dimensions of results on the basis of our upgrade, as it were, internally. Now, this internal upgrade or this software upgrade like I'm referring to, or update, is actually a product of updating our knowledge. The more we learn, the more we grow through learning, the more we are able to deliver in leading. So our leading is a product of our learning. It means that our continuous learning is what brings about our improvement in leading. So we cannot improve our leadership if we don't sustain our learnership. Our learning is the key to our leading. This is so important. And that's why it becomes important that we continue to recognize that we never get to the pinnacle of knowledge. Knowledge is an ever-increasing endeavor where we must continue to press on to higher and higher dimensions in our learning. Now, there's a scripture that is so strong as it concerns this, and that's 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 2. The Bible says, if any man thinks that he knows anything, let him know that he does not know yet as he ought to know. So there is always more to know. While I was in school, one of my professors made a statement that has stuck with me. He said, the higher you go in knowledge, the more aware you are of your ignorance. You see, we must keep recognizing that no matter how much we know, there is still much more to know than we know. There is still much more to know than we know. That should continue to inspire our crave for increasing learning in our leadership adventure. The question therefore now is, having seen that the factory is learning, how can I really develop my leadership potential? How do I develop my leadership potential? And I'll give important steps here, or 6 important avenues through which we can develop our leadership potential. Number 1 is reading. And my charge to every one of us is build a functional library. And when I mean a functional library is the books on our shelves are not to be decorative for our shelves. They are to be informative for our minds. Whatever does not first inform you cannot transform you. All right. So the purchasing of books is not enough. We must make ourselves addicts to the practice of reading. Read on a daily basis. I've heard the chancellor say, I read daily. So make it a practice that every single day you have a commitment to read something that builds you. These first 3, aspects of development are self-directed. So you must read. Make it a practice to read something that helps you on a day-to-day basis. We discovered that books can be our counselors. Books can correct us. Books even help to reveal us to ourselves. There are things we do not understand about even ourselves that books help us to unveil. So our capacity to study and to read is one of the vital avenues to building our leadership potential. Number 2 is listening or watching. There are various materials and various media formats that help to build up our leadership capacity. Let's not waste the opportunity that we have. It's unfortunate that we live in a day and age where there is so much opportunity for us, and yet there is so much wasting that takes place. So many people today are consumed on various social media platforms that don't add too much value to them, whereas there's valuable information available. For example, on YouTube, you can almost learn anything, but at the same time on YouTube, you can waste untold amounts of time. So let's be conscious about investing our time in listening or watching things that will add to our leadership potential. Number 3 is observational or reflective dimension of development. And here this is settling down and taking time to make observation of the things that we see around us. Solomon was renowned for this in the Bible. He would look at trees, he would look at ants, he would look at animals, he would look at buildings, he would look at people. And from every observation that he made, he was able to settle down and draw lessons that were, instrumental in helping him as a leader. All right. So here, this is one of the things I believe that's really helpful. And I would encourage people, as many as can, to also develop the attitude or the habit of journaling. And journaling, I'm not just talking about writing things down, but also reflecting on your actions, reflecting on the things that you are up to and seeing how to improve on them. All right. This is one of the vital things that I believe is quite helpful. I was reading recently a little expose on the war in Ukraine, and a journalist was making a remark, and he was talking about the leader of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, and he said that one of the frustrations was that he didn't journal, he didn't write down in detail things about how he was thinking about the things that he was doing, and that was one of the frustrations of those who were around him. And I compared that to a leader like Marcus Aurelius, who was the last great Roman emperor, and we are told that he settled down to write his thoughts. He documented so much about how he was contemplating things in front of him, and out of his writings, his diary, came out what is now referred to as meditations, and it has become an instrument for many other people to help direct them and help show them how a leader, an effective leader, is able to think. If you look at some of the writings of the Chancellor, Dr. David Oyedepo, recently some of them have begun to come out in volumes. We have the Treasures of Life, Volume 1 and Volume 2. These are all just documentations of his meditations, the things that he has, come across, the truths, the things that he has discovered. And now they are becoming a resource for other people. So take time to capture your lessons, be reflective, write down the things that you are learning. Number 4 is take advantage of short courses, like some of the things that were just launched right now. We just heard about the course that is available for us to take advantage of. Is one of the avenues through which we can build our leadership potential. You see, we sharpen our edge, our leadership edge, by knowledge. All right. So we must of necessity take advantage of such short courses. Number 5 is professional certifications. Right, you can take certifications in your chosen area of career. You are you are an accountant, you have certification courses, you are a project manager, whatever the case may be. These are areas through which you can develop yourself. And then you can also take advantage of formal degrees. These are there to build the framework for you to be successful in your leadership adventure. The truth is this: knowledge is available, but you must be ready to pay the price to acquire knowledge and then to practice what you have acquired. Now, as we begin to conclude, I leave us with this very important charge, that is to act. Action changes things. So let's act. Let's take steps and take action now. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a privilege to be a part of this forum, and I look forward to hearing your leadership testimonies in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Pastor David. This has been such an explosive reiteration, and it has really helped me here to realign and reposition my leadership potentials. I'm sure every one of you in the audience can no doubt come to a fact that yes, we have been so blessed, and this teaching has really helped us in realigning our leadership skill. So thank you so very much, Pastor David Oyedepo. And thank you to our very interactive audience. Your thoughtful questions, we see them coming in, because any moment from now, we shall be harvesting them and taking your questions. So keep it coming. We have our questions directed to either of the speakers, either Dr. Lanre Amadu or Pastor David Oyedepo. All right. We would like you to like or share our YouTube page. Tell somebody, because this is a whole workload. Wow. Thank you all so much. We're seeing it coming in. Okay. We already have a question. Okay, we have a question from someone. He said, what is your take on political leadership deficit in Africa and Nigeria in particular, and got it? Okay, and how can it be made better? I'll take the question again. What is your take on political leadership deficit in Africa and Nigeria in particular? How can it be made better? All right, keep your questions coming in. Dr. 𝗪𝗏 Amadu, can you just use your wealth of experience to maybe be able to explain that better to you? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for that question. I was actually hoping that you'll push that to Pastor David. Pastor David, thank you so much for that very, very insightful presentation. I was right here jotting, talking about the factory through which leaders are made, and software upgrade. That's an amazing one. Thank you so much, sir. So responding to that question, you permit me to go biblically here. I learned something from the story of Solomon, and we usually talk about what Solomon asked for, and the fact that he asked for wisdom, and God said, because you asked for wisdom, I'll give you this. But one thing I learned was about what he did not ask for. For me, I think that God was more impressed about what Solomon did not ask for rather than what he asked for. Of course, he was impressed by the fact that he asked for wisdom. But he said, you did not ask for long life. You did not ask for wealth. You did not ask for the life of your enemies. And then when we look at that in our political context, you find out that that is one of those three things are among the greatest leadership issues we have. Number one, somebody gets into office and you're thinking of longevity. How do I stay permanently in office and I don't leave? How do I install somebody else after me that can protect my interest? And God is saying, Solomon, you didn't ask for this. I'm impressed. The next one is to ask for the life of your enemy. You get into the office and the first thing you do is there is no opposition because you clamp down on everybody. And nobody can actually say that this is what can be done. This is the way we move forward. And the last one, you did not ask for money. Of course, you know that corruption is entirely based on this. People get into office and they start to get into all of these things. So I think that this is very instructive. The political problems that we have largely revolve around these things. People who want to stay permanently because of self-interest, people who want to get things for themselves, and people who want to eliminate anyone that is against them. So the answer to all of these things is what God said. You asked for an understanding mind to serve the people. Said, I don't know how to go out and how to come in, and these people are your people. I don't know how to serve them. So a service mindset makes you think of giving and impacting and being a blessing to people rather than getting things from people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm sure he has gotten a deeper understanding of what he did ask for. Another question here directed at Pastor David, sir. He says, what are the things to do to be an effective reader and stop procrastinating on reading, specifically if you have a tight schedule? That's directed to you, sir.
All right, thank you. I think that one of the most important things to things to realize is that we don't suffer for lack of time. We suffer for lack of prioritization. Like I said, one of the things I discovered was that most of the major leaders in the world, particularly if you look at leaders of nations who have stacked schedules, is that they read. And one of the things that drives the reading habit is actually just priority. I was looking at one of the leaders' schedule recently, and I discovered that on his agenda for the day, it starts with reading. So when he gets up in the morning, he starts, it's known that they curate for him what he needs to read for that day. And then he reads those items before he goes about the rest of his day. So it's about priority. And there is more that you can get out of your day if you're able to try to organize your day. The analogy I like to use is that if you want to pack a suitcase, it will surprise you how much people can put in a suitcase. All right. Particularly those of us who are from this part of the world here in Nigeria, we are gifted at putting more into a suitcase than that suitcase was originally designed to carry. All right. But what makes us able to put so much into it is the fact that we have learned to arrange those things in a particular order. Yes. So if you learn to arrange your day in a particular order, where there are certain priorities that are set for your day, you'll find that there is so much more that you can get out of your day. The second thing I would say is that when it comes to reading, it doesn't take a huge investment of time. It just takes a consistent investment of time. So if I say I'm going to read, for example, for an hour a day, put that over a week, that's already 7 hours in that week. You'll discover that there are so many books you'll be able to read through in a month if you have just that practice. Yeah. If I say, okay, I'm not yet able to do an hour a day, how about 30 minutes a day? All right, that's still about 3.5 hours a week.
True.
That will get you finishing at least 2 books or so every month. So it's about the consistency of the practice. So priority and consistency, those 2 things are important.
Thank you so very much, sir. And I'm sure this has answered quite a lot of questions that has to do with continuous learning and also all that has to do with the government. I'm sure if you go back, this is an opportunity, you can watch this again, go to our YouTube channel, like it and share it, and then be prepared to face the future. What an awesome experience. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. And thank you to our interactive audience. You've been amazing. Thank you for your thoughtful questions as well. They've been quite engaging. All right. We'd like to say a thank you so much for everyone that has participated. All right, we have another question in the house. Okay. Someone is asking a question directed to Dr. 𝗪𝗵𝘁. A leader continue to make input despite the fact that other wants the position but doesn't know what to do and always coming to you sideways for your idea. Dr. 𝗪𝗵𝘁, could you help us shed more light on this, sir?
All right, thank you very much. One of the things that's important when you're building yourself in your leadership career is that you're not looking for credit, you're looking for impact. So you're not trying to say that this is my idea, it's my idea that sells. But you just find out that you are the generator of ideas and people keep coming to you. People know where those ideas are coming from. They know who the impactful person is. It's just a matter of time before you get your recognition and you get yourself out there. But in the meantime, don't look for recognition, look for impact. Keep developing yourself and keep doing things. Someone who is impactful cannot be hidden for too long. You will find yourself exposed because people will know what you can do. A time is coming when people see some certain results, they will know this person touched this work because we can see his hand all over it. This is the kind of thing you do. What you have done is that you have developed a reputation for excellence, and then people start to look in your direction. So a good leader cannot be hidden for too long. Don't chase credit. Put in your entire self. the opportunity will come out there.
Thank you so very much, sir. You want to add any more on this question, sir? Is there any other thing you want to add, Pastor David Oyedepo?
No, I think he has given the perfect answer to the question. Don't look for credit, just continue to give input. I think that's sound advice.
Okay, so we take the last question on this program quickly. How can one structure his time to have a functional library in spite of the demands of work, family, and all that after starting to get disciplined on this? There's a relapse after some time.
All right, I think this goes back to some of the answers I gave earlier. One of the things I tell people, if you want to build habits, build them gradually. So for example, if you've not built the habit of reading, I would not advise you to start reading an hour a day, because you're probably not going to sustain it. But you can do 30 minutes a day. All right, so build that habit, and then build it. It's like a muscle. You have to build it up gradually. So if I say I can't read, an hour yet, maybe I'm still too distracted, then do 30 minutes a day. Number two, learn to eliminate distractions. All right, so if you want to help yourself build some of the habits, you have to figure out what distracts you. One of the things that I find out that distracts a lot of people is our various devices and the things that we have on our devices. So I've done something that has helped me, which is on my phone, for example, I don't have YouTube. I don't have social media. I have nothing on that phone that can distract me. And the purpose is so that when I'm, trying to get engaged, I'm not distracted. Right. Okay, so you can do things like that help you. Or you can put timers on all of your various applications so that they have periods when they don't work. All right, and that allows you to be able to concentrate and build up that muscle and that habit of studying and reading and so forth. Like I said earlier, we don't suffer for lack of time. We suffer usually for lack of prioritization. And if we have the right priorities and we begin to build those habits gradually, then we're going to make gain a lot of ground as we do.
Thank you very much, sir. I quite agree. Somebody's asking, does listening to a book or summary of the book the same as reading? And is it proper to do that?
Who is answering this question?
My pastors, I believe you should.
Anybody can answer the question.
So it's okay to listen to books. I think not every book can really be listened to. I think it depends on the content of certain materials. I think that some materials that are that have more of like a storyline to them, it's okay to listen to them. I think that materials that are also somewhat simple in their concept can be listened to. I think there are some materials that you must read. You have to physically read. So while I agree that listening is one of the major avenues, if you notice, I separated it from reading. I talked about listening and watching and had reading separate, because I believe that reading actually exercises a different side of you than listening does. While you can get the gist of a thing through listening, I think in reading you can also extract further details that you may not be able to comprehend from listening. So I listen and I read. I listen to books, I have audiobooks, and I read. But I find out that not every book works well being listened to. Some of them I listen to and I have to read again just to make sure that I get it. And I think even when it comes to reading, we have to understand that you don't get everything the first time.
Right, true.
The books that we read, we have to reread in order to get, as much out of them as we ought to. So I agree that you can listen, but it cannot replace reading. Both habits are necessary. Dr.
Right,
Moda, let me hand over to you to
You add something to add to read, Dr. Larry Amadu?
Well, so I totally agree with Pastor's explanation. It's good with me.
Absolutely. So I'm sure he has been satisfied without question. Thanks for this insightful teaching. I would like to know how to distinguish myself. That's another question. With a vision to take up a leadership position in Nigeria. Against all odds of leadership mess in Nigeria. Okay, probably Dr. Larry Amado will help us on this particular one.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a noble thing for you to want to take a leadership position in Nigeria. It's a good thing. But again, if we go by everything we have talked about so far, what elements of leadership have you demonstrated so far? In your family, in your place of work, in those units where you find yourself, how have you presented yourself as a leader? A lot of people think that they have to be at the helms of affairs to change things. But we know that there are some leaders, there are some changes that originate from ground up. So in other words, you galvanize enough people that you have impacted who are willing to move with you. Remember, creating a movement to changing things. One of the things that you notice is, supposing you get there and you're good, you alone will not be able to change an entire system that is already wrong.
That's correct.
But as you're growing up in your desire and you are building other people, you're also building networks of people that will receive your views, receive your vision, and run with it. So one person is not enough to run with a vision. So while you aspire to get there, I would say that you impact different levels you find yourself as you go up. Let it be organic. If it is not organic, you will need somebody's help to get there, and that person will definitely want to cash in. Whoever gives you a platform will make demands. But if you move up gradually by laying the foundation, impacting people's lives, you will be put forward, and you move forward by your impact. And as a result of that, you will have even a network of people who believe in your vision and will be willing to run with it.
Amazing. You've done justice to this answer. So please, you want to go ahead with your presidential ambition, go ahead, but with the right attitude and also the right mindset. However, we shall be taking one more question now. We appreciate our audience. You've been amazing. I quite appreciate it. We take the last question now quickly. It says, sometimes information can be overwhelming. How can you have direction on what information you need to build yourself? This one is going to our Pastor David.
All right. Okay, so I think that the first thing that helps in deciphering what kind of information you need is to first identify your area of focus. What am I trying to work on? All right. So, for example, when we talk about leadership, there are various dimensions to our leadership. Maybe you're trying to work on communication, whatever the case may be, you have a particular area that you're trying to work on or develop. Number two is you must always consider the source. So I always advocate to people, don't read everything. Don't read just everything. Check the source. Who am I reading from? What's their what is their makeup? What makes them an authority? Because we live in a world today, and that's part of the reason why we have so much of an overload. We live in a world today where everybody poses to be an authority in areas that perhaps do not have any kind of weight yet. So I would always consider the source. All right. So first of all, what's my focus? And second of all, what's my source? And then the third thing I would also think about is who has actually learned from them. All right. And the reason why I try to do this is because it's helpful to actually pick up on individuals who have already impacted others. So I want to be able to know, okay, such and such person is writing on this subject. I'm sure we must have impacted one or two individuals in the past. So what's the track record of those who have actually come across them? And the reason is this, while experimentation is good, you usually don't want to be the experiment. So you'll find out where such a person has actually made, and then that would distill to you individuals that you should actually focus on. So that would be my recipe.
Wow, amazing! Thank you also very much, Sas. Thank you, especially Pastor David Oyedepo.
Thank you.
This has been occasional expository journey. To Dr. Larry Amado, we say thank you so much. We're coming back to the classroom. So hurry, go to the website and get enrolled. Like and share and rewatch this video. Ensure it gets to all parts of the globe. We want to say a big thank you to our engaging audience. Your thoughtful questions has been highly commendable. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. We thank you for your time. And we'd like to say a special thank you to God Almighty for his blessing of making this come our way. Thank you to the president of the ALDC, Dr. 𝗪𝗵𝘁𝗪. Thank you for your contributions and your tireless inputs. Thank you all to the management of Covenant University. It's been wonderful having you all on this space. I would like to say a special thank you to our ALDC team for their inputs and contributions as well. Thank you all so much. And to everyone, we want to leave a thought with you. They said, to spread light, you either be a candle or be a mirror. We've had light our way today coming from our two speakers. Whichever way, just keep being a reflector. Don't stop learning, don't stop reading. Leaders are great readers, all right? And don't let it stop here. So on this note, I still remain Omobola Allen. I want to say a big thank you from all of us here and goodbye. Thank you all so much. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.